Kitchen. And today I'm very excited. We are going to talk all about Kay Francis with film collector and Kay Francis fan, Mr. Kenton Bymaster. He also works at Warner Brothers in post-production. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Kay. We're going to talk about a lot of things today. So I think this is going to be a lot of fun. And Kenton and I, after making this recipe a couple of times this week, we came to the conclusion that we need to make it right at the start of the show, because once you unveil the final product, it almost starts to disintegrate within minutes. So a little bit different format.
It has to be eaten immediately.
Has to be eaten immediately. This is true. So what we're going to make today is Kay Francis's Coffee Souffle. And I do have to thank the lovely Miss Krista Lawler, because she is a friend and a viewer, and she sent me the cookbook this is from. It is from Food and Fashions of 1934. I keep it in this plastic sleeve because it's a bit fragile, but I did make a nice big copy for using in the kitchen here. And okay, so the things we're going to need to make this coffee souffle. We're going to need 1.5 cups of strong coffee. We have right here. A tablespoon of gelatine right here. And we're going to need a 1/3 cup granulated sugar and 1/2 cup of milk to start. So thank you to Angie Schneider for teaching me how to make my own double broiler here. So we're going to mix the coffee, the gelatine, the 1/3 cup sugar, and the 1/2 cup of milk. So we're going to mix these all together. Okay. Heat a double broiler. Add yolks. Do we stir it for a bit, Kenton, before we add the egg yolks? I forget.
Yes. As soon as the gelatin hits that liquid, you should start stirring it, because it'll start to clump up if you don't.
Okay.
So,
okay.
But then once you feel that it's kind of getting dissolved, then you can add the yolks with that other 1/3 cup of sugar as well. So.
By the way, I'm really excited to have Kenton here with me, because Kenton is a very seasoned cook. And if any of you follow him on social media, you will see the incredible food he makes all the time. Wow. So I guarantee you, there's
Thank you so much.
You're going to see more Kenton Bymaster on Hollywood Kitchen in the future, guys. So.
Oh, nice. Thank you.
Of course. This has been so much fun hanging with you this week.
Nice.
So we're going to stir this. How long do you think we need to stir it?
Like I said, you should be able to tell that the gelatin is getting dissolved and the sugar as well. I would kind of make sure that's not any kind of granular, plus the double boiler should help as well with the heat to dissolve that. But
definitely,
if it seems like it's pretty much mixed, then I would start to add the egg yolks.
Okay, we're going to take yolks of 3 eggs, slightly beaten. Okay, so we've got the egg yolks. Beat them slightly, add them to the mixture. Okay. And then mix with another 1/3 cup of sugar.
Yes.
Another 1/3 cup of granulated sugar. Lots of sugar in this thing.
Yes.
1/4 teaspoon of salt. Okay. It says cook until it thickens, but you and I were having a conversation about this morning and the difficulties we've bove had in making this.
Yeah, it doesn't thicken. So, but I felt like because of the gelatin, that's why, because I've looked at some other Jello recipes, and then they talk about the gelatin thickening, and then you do a second step. So I felt like it's, once it's all mixed together, it's going to start thickening because it's gelatin. So, it just didn't seem, when I mixed the egg whites with it, it just didn't seem like super thick, but it seemed fine. I mean, I was pleased when the first one I did came out. I mean, I wasn't expecting it to, and I was kind of pleasantly surprised when it came out of the mold. Perfect.
Because last night I was slaving over a hot stove, and I kept stirring this forever last night, and it would not thicken. And I finally was like,
right.
I'm not going to bed. It's like after midnight, So I don't know why it was not thickening as it should, but all right.
Now, does your mold seem like it's like firm today that you made last night?
It does. Knock on
Yeah.
wood. Yes.
So, right. I know, because I kept checking mine for like 2 or 3 hours after I put it in the fridge, and I was surprised, like it just still seemed super soupy kind of. But the next day, the gelatin did its work. So.
Oh, good. Okay, well, I can hear the noise under the hot plate, so it is starting to do its magic here. Okay, so cook until it thickens, which we know that's not quite working. Okay, add the whites of eggs beaten stiff. I did this off camera because, frankly, if I use my hand mixer on camera, it's going to make all sorts of rackets. So I've got 3 egg whites that are beaten stiff right here. I'm going to add those, which is basically like a big meringue, essentially, I think.
Yep. Exactly. Just without the sugar.
Okay, we've got and then half a teaspoon of vanilla. So got my half teaspoon of vanilla right here. Now I'm going to stir for just a minute or two, and then you and I will both unveil our final product here.
Yes, indeed.
Jello molds can be really tricky. This is only the second recipe I've ever attempted with a Jello mold. The first was, I think, my first official episode of Hollywood Kitchen, where I made Anne Dvorak's fruit salad a la gel. So that was also quite an experience. But I think this one is definitely turning out to be much more solid. By the way, I love eBay. It's so amazing. I found, for the Anne Dvorak episode and this one, a 1930s mint condition set of star Jello molds that had never been used before.
Nice.
Yeah, isn't that cool?
In the box too. Wow.
All right, so I'm stirring this here, and then I'm going to set it aside, and I'm going to step out of the kitchen for just a second and get the final product, so we can do our grand unveiling of what the final product looks like.
I actually bought a Jello mold, my first one, this past week at a yard sale, and I got a star mold.
I have one
perfect for Kay. Got to have a star, so.
Right. Well, I'll be right back, Kenton, with the final Jello.
No worries. I'll be ready to unveil when you are.
Yes. Okay. All right, here is my star Jello mold. And Kenton, you advised me to place this maybe in a pan with warm water, sort of loosen it up.
Well, we both looked that up on the internet, and I have to say, I just flipped mine and it came right out. I have no problem. So,
Wow.
I mean, if you want to try that, I'm going to just go for it and flip it. I got my plate here, and I'm just going to flip it over, and hopefully it's going to come out. Maybe not.
All right, then I too will attempt that.
Oh, there it comes.
Did it work? Okay, I'm going to try to flip my mold.
Doll mine up a little bit with some.
It came out. It came out.
Nice.
Here it is.
And here's mine. Oh, there we go.
Oh, yours looks good, Kenton. Can you take a picture and send me that?
Sure.
Oh, yours looks really good. So, and what I'm going to do with what I just made, my Jello mold kit came with a bunch of little extra star-shaped tiny molds. So I thought maybe I'd scoop this into some of the tiny molds and make little mini Jello things for some friends that live here locally.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So they can sample Kay's coffee souffle.
Lord.
Kenton, I'm losing your image here. Can you
Yeah, sorry. I wanted to take a picture for you, so.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I always like to have a good picture.
I'll send it to you.
For the blog.
Yeah, I'll send it to you after this. So.
Oh, excellent. That'd be great. Okay. And so as I scoop the mini Jello molds here, let's go ahead and do our deep dive on Kay Francis, because I did have a few friends contact me this week and say, Carrie, I don't know who she is. And they know classic Hollywood, but even amongst classic Hollywood buffs, it dawned on me that Kay is still a little bit below the radar. So
Right.
let's talk about why that is. And maybe we should do kind of a Kay Francis 101 for some people that are not in the know.
Right. Well, I could tell you, I really didn't know that much about her until I think the only movie that I'd ever seen of hers was A Name Only. And I feel like that was only because it was, you know, a Cary Grant movie that it was probably even released on VHS. That's, I'm dating myself here. But she, thanks to Turner Classic Movies, and also in 2006 when there were two biographies that came out on her, Scott O'Brien's, I think is wonderful. And I kind of read up on her then, but you know, it was thanks to TCM that I had even begun to see any of those movies. And you know, once the Forbidden Hollywood started to hit the stores and stuff, then it was like, oh, we're going to see Jewel Robbery and One Way Passage and things like that, which those are great movies, great pre-codes that she did. So I don't know what it is. There's a quote about her that she said too. That's the title of Scott's book. Is "I Can't Wait to Be Forgotten." I kind of feel like Hollywood kind of left a bitter taste in her mouth by the time she left. To, you know, she went on the stage and finished her career on the stage until the like mid to late 50s, I believe. But she was born in 1905. Oh, what happened? What happened?
Okay, guys, can everybody hear me? Can everybody see me? Please comment if you can. For those of you who might be watching, all the power went out on my whole block, and hopefully, knock on wood, it's back up, but I am not totally sure. So if you're hearing me or seeing me or both, please comment so I know this is actually working. Okay, I'm back. Okay. Whew. All right, that's good. Okay. And hopefully Kenton will be back in a second too. He has exhibited the patience of a saint with me this week. So thank you, Kenton. Oh, good. Okay, we are back. Kenton, you have been very, very patient with me this week through the Jello
So
outage, all sorts of stuff. So God bless you and thank you.
No worries.
Okay, so we made the Jello. We just to recap, we made the recipe. This is my final product of my coffee Jello souffle, which I might just sit here and stress eat while we talk.
I hear you.
Yeah, and so let's talk about Kay, because again, some of my friends, even the ones that know a lot about old Hollywood, really Kay was not on the radar. So
right. Yeah, I feel like her movies were like hidden away until Turner Classic Movies came around and you know, they started broadcasting them. But I mean, it's kind of crazy how, you know, certain stars that, I mean, she was a huge star at Warner Brothers. They said she was like the queen of Warner Brothers Studios from 32 to like 36. That's a long time. And, you know, she got the best roles. I mean, Betty Davis was there at that time as well, but she was, you know, making a minuscule amount of salary compared to what Kay was making. By the last 3 years of her time at Warner Brothers, she was like the highest paid actress in Hollywood, I believe. Definitely at Warner Brothers. And so, and her movies were very popular. She was a huge fashion icon. Like a lot of people went to go see her movies just to see what she was wearing.
Oh,
So, you know, and Ori Kelly was her designer there. But yeah, she was just extremely popular, especially in the early 30s. And kind of, I feel like, you know, when she left Hollywood, she was done. She just had enough, and I feel like it left a bitter taste in her mouth, you know, before it was all said and done. But she made some great movies, especially some great pre-codes,
yes.
which they're my favorites. I think 1932 was like her best year that she made so many great movies, like One Way Passage and Jewel Robbery, um, uh, the Lubitsch. Why is it not coming to my mind? Trouble in Paradise. Right. Like those three alone are just like, oh, like the best. So, but you know, she actually was born in 1905. She was born in Oklahoma City. Her mother was an actress. From what I gather, like her education, she kind of traveled around with her mother mostly. And she did eventually take stenography courses, which I don't know if you know this, but she also kept diaries, and she had diaries, I think, from the mid like 20s until like the mid 50s that she continually wrote all the time. And she wrote in shorthand. So, well, like, I guess if you want to see her, because the diaries are available to see at Wesleyan University, that's where she left them. And I guess you'd have to know shorthand to be able to read them.
Well, I was reading this book that you loaned me for this episode to research. Kay Francis, I Can't Wait to Be Forgotten. And in the book, it talked about how they translated from shorthand a lot of her diary entries in it.
Oh, nice. Yeah. So, you know, and it's kind of interesting to get her. That's why I love that book, because it's kind of like you get this firsthand taste when they quote her diaries of like what she was going through in her life and stuff. So lots of personal turmoil as well, lots of affairs and all kinds of craziness and like that. But she was, I feel, a really good actress. I mean, I thought some of her roles she was really great in. So, you know, she actually, it's kind of crazy. Like, I feel like her story is kind of just like a perfect story of the 20th century in a way, because like when, you know, in the 20s, she was kind of coming of age, and she marries a guy who's like an heir to a wool company. So that was, I think his name was James Dwight Francis, and she kept his name as her stage name or whatever. They were only married from like 1922 to 25. And after they divorced, she decided to take to the stage, and she did a few plays. I don't think she was super successful. Like, she was just kind of like a contract, you know, with certain stage productions or whatever. But Paramount noticed her, and her first film was in 29, I think, Gentlemen of the Press, it was called. And she did about 20 movies at Paramount before she even came to Warner Brothers. They talk about in the book about
Kenton, your sound went out. Kenton, hello. I can't hear you.
what's going on here?
Can you hear me? I can hear you now when you just said that.
Oh, yeah. You there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Like, why can't I hear you?
You can't hear me?
Yeah, it's really low. Hold on. Let me see if I can do this without these ear pods.
Oh man.
This is just a day for technical difficulties.
Oy vey.
Is that better? Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. Yes, can you hear me?
I can barely hear you for some reason.
I don't understand.
But you can hear me okay, right?
Yeah, let me turn up the sound on my MacBook, but
So weird.
Okay, my sound is all the way up on my MacBook, and I'll talk louder too. Can you hear me?
Yeah, but you can hear me okay as well?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, that's so strange. Like I can barely hear you. So anyway, she did these movies at Paramount, and actually her second film was the Coconuts with the Marx Brothers, which she's actually really funny in that. There's some really great scenes with her. She's hysterical. So this raid happened in 1932 where Warner Brothers took William Powell and Ruth Chatterton and Kay Francis from Paramount. And I guess Paramount wasn't doing very well financially at the time. And so they were kind of glad to let them go in that sense. And then when she came to Warner Brothers is when she really took off as a star. I mean, she kind of found her niche. So she did, like I said, she did several pre-codes. As soon as she started, I mean, it was like Man Wanted was the first one. I should let me get some of my heralds and stuff. So
to the viewers watching, can you hear me? Can you hear Kenton? Please let us know. We're kind of being beset by a few difficulties today.
Show off some of this collection now. So we'll start with the youngest stuff here. So this is a still I have of her. That's signed, but you can see, look at how young she is. And if you can't really tell, she signed it with just the K.
He's got beautiful penmanship.
So yeah, this was her first film at Warner Brothers, was Man Wanted. This is a herald. These were handed out at the theaters. Can't really see that much
I
detail,
love the colors on those. It's just fabulous.
Yeah, this is she plays a businesswoman in this and hires a male secretary, which kind of leads to more than just work. If you know what I mean, wink, wink, pre-code.
Kenton, I think Man Wanted would be a great double feature with Ruth Chatterton in female.
Right, yes, yes, exactly.
Boss who,
exactly.
Sends them into the Canadian office when she's
So then she also did, this is a lobby card from the film Street of Women, which is, I think, her second feature that she did at Warner Brothers. I love the graphic on the lobby card is great.
I just watched that one the other day.
Oh yeah, it's great. I love these movies. They're so frank and adult. It's kind of shocking in a way how like modern they are, you know.
Yeah, and
so
sorry.
I wanted to actually, before I left Paramount and swept into Warner Brothers here, I wanted to show I think one of her best Paramount films that she did is a film called 24 Hours. And this is a lobby card from that with her and Clive Brook and Miriam Hopkins. And this was Miriam Hopkins, I believe, third film. And after this, she went into Dr. Jekyll. So this is a really good movie, really great. It's not available. I think you can see, like, you can get bootleg copies of it, on the internet, or maybe even watch it on the internet. So you should check it out if you ever get a chance. It's really good. So
I love how vibrant the colors are.
So then I feel like this is probably my favorite of her movies, pre-codes, is Jewel Robbery with William Powell. This is a lobby card from that, a scene card. You can see she's kind of extolling the virtues of William Powell in this picture to her friend.
As it should be. As it should be.
Right. So so this is a lobby card from that.
Now, Kenton, correct me if I'm wrong. Did she and William Powell have an affair or no?
They were actually, from what I've read, just really good friends. They did several films together at Paramount, and then two at Warner Brothers, which the other one Way Passage, is like a classic. It's so good.
Oh yeah, I really credit, like you said, TCM was kind of bringing Kay Francis to the fore, because pretty frequently they show her films.
Yeah,
and a few years ago at the TCM Festival, I had the pleasure of seeing Girls About Town on the big screen at the Egyptian, and boy, did that knock my socks off.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's a great one too. That's another one that I think I did see that at TCM, but I have a copy of it, but it's like washing it through like muddy water. It's so like, I don't even know where the copy came from, but
I wish that was not on DVD.
yeah, it's so great. I love that movie. And it's like an early Cukor. I mean, who doesn't love George Cukor as a director as well? So that's another one that should be out, you know? So
we got a wish list going here of Kay Francis DVDs.
Right. I wish I could hear you better. I don't know what is going on here, but
is it if I talk a lot louder, would that help? Or
I'm trying to see if I can hear better if I go on the website or on Facebook, but it's not. Anyway, so I have some other stuff here to show. I have some posters as well, but I'm going to show the rest of this small stuff first. So this is from 1934, I believe. This is kind of Kay hitting her pre-code stride here. This is a herald from Mary Stevens, MD. You can see it says, "What did this woman doctor learn about men?" And you open it up. She looks a little teary-eyed, so obviously it wasn't a good lesson learned. So.
That is a very, very frank movie. I mean, it's really for the time. My gosh, it's very kind of surprising in ways I won't reveal if no one's seen it yet. And also she plays a doctor, so there's not a lot of evening gowns. It's kind of a different direction for her a little bit.
Right. You know, one thing too about Kay, she really, from what I've read too, she was fine with taking someone else's cast-off roles. Both The House on 56th Street and Mandalay were both refused by Ruth Chatterton, and Kay was willing to step in, and I guess it was after that fact, soon after that, that's when Jack Warner like upped her salary, and that's when she became like the highest paid, because she was so agreeable to just sure, I'll do it, why not, you know.
One thing I want to ask you, can you hear me? Okay, one thing I want to ask you is kind of what went wrong. Was it White Angel? Was that the movie that kind of didn't do as well and made Warner Brothers sour on her? Because what I want to understand here in talking to you is, okay, she's the highest paid woman at Warner Brothers and making this astronomical salary. What happened? Like what made,
you know, I think it's not really clear in the books, but I just feel like the Warner Brothers themselves didn't want to pay that much money. I mean, she was making thousands a week, and basically they thought, oh, well, we'll just give her really bad projects. They did some horrible things to her, like she went on vacation once and they were like, well, you need to clear out your dressing room because we're going to redecorate it for you. And she came back and it was John Garfield's dressing room. They promised her a role in a film, I think it's called Tovarich, that was done with Claudette Colbert. She, like, I think read about it in the papers, you know, basically that they had cast Claudette Colbert. You know, they just did a lot of things that left a bad taste in her mouth, but she wanted the money. I mean, even Betty Davis said it's like she was about the money as opposed to the career. Like Betty Davis was in it for, you know, and that's the thing. And that's what I think the Warner Brothers tried to do, is force her into doing these thoughtless and thankless roles in these B movies, but she just held them to it, and she basically got every last cent that she was owed from the Warner Brothers. She, you know, they even said at one point she would come in and just sit in a chair off camera, and they would do camera tests for new actors, and she would just be there feeding them lines. She said, I think she even said she would sweep the stage if that was what it was going to take. So she held them to there, and, you know, good for her. It's like she was basically financially independent after that. I think, you know, when she died, she left like over $1 million to a foundation that trains seeing eye dogs.
That's wonderful.
You
I
know?
just wonder kind of, I mean, it's easy to go into the what ifs, but if she just said no, because if you give me these lousy roles, I'm eventually not going to have a career, not going to have an income, and I want better, and then tried to sue them and tried to fight them like, say, Betty Davis did. I mean, I kind of wonder what would have happened had she taken a different approach, you know?
Hold on. Sorry, I'm really having horrible trouble hearing you for some reason. Is it better now? Can you?
I can hear you just fine.
That's now I can hear you. Something was muted or something. Sorry about that.
Okay.
This
I
is just
wonder,
our first episode together is like a comedy of errors.
I'm so sorry, Kenton. Oh my
No,
God.
it's fine. It's fine. I mean, we just got to roll with the punches.
Gotta roll with the punches. I'm trying. It's, you know. So what I'm wondering is what would have happened? I mean, it's easy to go into the what ifs, but if she just said, no, I'm not doing this and I'm suing you and I need better roles because I'm not going to have a career if I keep doing these terrible films. Like if she'd have fought back against the way they were treating her and the roles they were doing.
I think that she did. I mean, if you'll read in that book too, that there was the point when she was suing them, but for some reason she pretty much caved. I don't know if they had something on her that, you know, it's hard to say because it's never really come out. But yeah, I mean, she basically just caved but like I said, she at least held them to their bargain. You know, it's like, you owe me this money and I'm gonna, you know, collect. So
well, having read, you know, different star biographies, I think a lot of the stars, they get to a point in time where their heart is just not in it anymore, or they've just kind of had all they can stand and they just decide that, you know what, I'm just going to cut my losses and travel or stay home, or I don't know, just find something else to do with my life. And it's not uncommon sometimes to see performers sort of take that attitude, you know? Right.
That's true.
If they have the means to not, you know, be constantly trying to work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, she seemed like she was she did pretty well with herself. I mean, she financially, like I said, but she was also known to be super generous at times too. I know one of the Westmores at one point was trying to open up his own salon, and she basically gave him a blank check and was like, you, whatever you need to get this thing going. And he did. So was, you know, which is pretty amazing, you know, but because they said she was very frugal too. I think that she had the same car for years. You know, she just drove the same, you know, roadster that she had, you know, when she first came to Hollywood or whatever. And just, you know, she didn't spend lavishly like a lot of the stars did, I don't think, as much. So
I think there's always, from what I've always read about different stars, there's kind of two schools of thought. The first one is, I grew up poor. The minute I have money, I'm just spending it like water. And I'm a movie queen. The public expects it. And then there's the other attitude that's like, well, I grew up poor and I am not going to be that way again. And I will hoard every cent, or I will be very, very careful. And that the other direction of just being super cautious with how they live and spend. And,
that's for sure.
That I first noticed Kay Francis, of course, in film school, Ernst Lubitsch and Preston Sturges. Those guys are just, you know, things you watch early on. And Trouble in Paradise was the first time I had seen her. And there's something very arresting about her presence. She just, when she's on camera, you can't really pay attention. Like sometimes, not with Trouble in Paradise, but there's other movies, I couldn't tell you who else was in the movie because I was just focused on her.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like a light, you know? She's just luminous, so beautiful.
She's so beautiful. And also she's just there's something about her. I mean, like, to me, and you watch some stars and then you watch maybe ones that were different or even not as good. You kind of compare and you see what made the other ones so special. Like some of them, they just kind of capture lightning in a bottle that you can't duplicate, you can't replicate, you can't recreate. It's just, they have it, for lack of a better word.
Right, exactly.
They have that something. And Kay certainly had that something. And also her body, she had such a long neck, a long, thin body. She was sky high. She had, compared to like Miriam Hopkins, she looks like she's like in the NBA. She's like 6 feet
Right.
tall. And she was just the perfect person to wear a lot of these beautiful gowns as well. I mean, I know Kimberly Truler has talked about it a lot in her talks, but Kay Francis was like a designer's dream because of the way she looked.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of those dresses truly were gravity defying pieces,
Right.
You're like,
Yes, we talked about that tape.
yeah, there must have been so much double stick tape across here, especially in jewel robbery. But
yes.
But again, she's just such a magnetic presence. And I think too, she's got such this kind of devil may care attitude that really makes her so perfect for the pre-code era. Because there's some stars that I think they're so good in that era, but once the code came in, it seemed like some of that magic was gone because they couldn't be
I totally
sexy.
agree.
They couldn't be kind of as bold as they once were allowed
Exactly.
to be.
Exactly. Well, like I said, I mean, I think her best year was 1932. I mean, she hit the ground running when she came to Warner Brothers, and I mean, she did like 6 movies in that year, I think, and they're all really great films. So, especially Jewel Robbery and One Way Passage. So, I actually want to show you one of my crown jewels in my collection that I just got this, I think, last year. This is a 1936 reissue for One Way Passage.
Oh, wow.
So, and when I got it at auction, it was pretty much in perfect condition. I did have it put on linen just to get the folds and stuff out of it, but it's just a great image. Just beautiful. So I have that, and then this is not original, but I'm such a fan of this movie that I bought this. This was actually like done in the 90s, I believe. It's a copy of the Jewel Robbery one sheet as well. So
that's beautiful.
Close up of Kay and William Powell. So
that's such a fun movie. I'm so glad TCM shows that as much as I do.
Oh yeah, so great. So Kay has kind of taken over my living room.
As it should be. As it should be. He should take over all of our living rooms.
Right. So I wanted to show you a few of the other pieces. Hopefully the reflection won't be too bad. This is a Argentinian poster for Dr. Monica.
I love foreign posters. Oh my gosh, they did such beautiful ones.
Isn't it beautiful?
Oh,
she's actually wearing it. The dress she's wearing is from Wonder Bar. But what I love too about this is that if you see really close, you can see the Warner Brothers logo.
Oh,
which is like the on Sunset, what's KTLA now or whatever.
Yeah. Oh,
so, and then this is probably one of the earliest pieces I have of hers. This is a Strangers in Love window card. It's the last film that she did at Paramount before she left. And I actually got that restored. When I got that, it had a nail hole in Frederick March's chin, and my restoration guy cleaned it up for me, made it just like new. So
let's give a shout out to your poster restoration guy, because we talked about him this week, and he's done incredible work with your collection.
Yeah, the company is called Poster Mountain, and they have a website you can go to. It's just postermountain.com. John is a great guy. He'll take care of you. Like he's like the best. So I can't recommend them more highly. So if you have anything that needs to be restored or put on linen, that's the place to go if you're in California anyway. So also this is I love this. This is a Mandalay lobby card, which I love. The image is just so great. She did 4 movies with Ricardo Cortez, and he gets murdered in all of them.
That's awesome.
But, yeah.
I'm fascinated by Kay Francis personally and professionally. She's just such an interesting presence.
This poster here is this is an original 1937 from the film Confession. This is probably like her last A picture that she did. And it's actually kind of interesting. This was a 1935 German film starring Pola Negri called Mazurka that Warner Brothers acquired the rights to, and then they shelved it, and supposedly it's remade shot for shot from Mazurka, which I always thought it would be cool to like try and find that movie and just to watch them and compare, because they supposedly literally shot for shot it's remade.
Oh,
so
wow.
so
Oh, that's
and then this is kind of a neat thing too that it's a half sheet for the same film, but this is not a Warner Brothers like artwork. It's like done, somebody did this like from some other company or something. Doesn't have any kind of Warner Brothers logo on it or any of that stuff, but I just love the imagery. Like I love how she's kind of all in orange and yellow. And so this I want to share too is the biggest piece of Kay Francis memorabilia I have. This is from I Found Stella Parrish. It's from 1935. It was a pretty big hit for her. This was made by a company called the Malloy Brothers out of Indiana. And what they would do is get stills from Warner Brothers films, and then they would blow them up and then create their own posters with using the blown up stills, and they would colorize. You can see there's a little bit of sparkle in Kay's eyes that they've added. And but this thing is it's crazy. It's literally on this thick poster board that's about a half an inch thick. It's crazy. It like I think it cost me more in shipping to get it to me than it did to win that. Yeah. So
where did you get it from, Kenton?
I got it from emovieposter.com. They're a great auction house site that I've gotten a lot of stuff from. So yeah, that's one of that's kind of taken over that wall, but it's such a great piece. I just love it.
As well it should.
Right.
And now,
right.
Danny Miller, my friend, is asking, do you have any Kay Francis costumes?
I do not. No, that's I wouldn't really. I mean, it would be cool, something to have, but I wouldn't even know like the first thing about how to store something like that. I feel like it would just be, a lot to take care of and maintain or whatever. So
what I'm wondering is what happened to those costumes. Like I would be really curious to know if they are in an archive, if they were sold, because some of those
Warner Brothers does have an archive, and I wouldn't doubt if they have some of them. I know they're, from other books I've read, they said, in the 60s and 70s there wasn't as tight a rein on all of the costumes or whatever, but I've worked at Warner Brothers. It's 29 years now. And when I first started, I worked over at what was called Warner Hollywood Studios which was the old Sam Goldwyn over on Formosa and Santa Monica. And a lot of history in that lot, but I actually, it was, one time there was a film there, and I actually met a guy who was doing costumes, and he worked part-time at the Warner Brothers costume department, and he let me go on a little tour one time, and like it was amazing, the stuff that I just got to see that was just hanging on racks. I mean, they've got supposedly, it's like miles and miles of costumes in that department, and it's all organized. And now, at this time they were just kind of, this was in I want to say the mid 90s that I went and toured the costume department with him. And they were just then kind of gearing up to like barcode, all the costumes and really take stock of their inventory. But I'll never forget being in there with him, and just like we walk by this rack and he pulls out this waitress uniform, and it's from Mildred Pierce. And then walking down the aisle later on, and there's the pumpkin seed dress from Camelot, the pumpkin seed wedding dress, I think it is. So it was just like, they have a lot of stuff. So I wouldn't doubt if they have, some of those costumes still. I would hope, You know, like I would love, you know, if the museum there would even, you know, rediscover Kay a little bit, and because she was, I mean, she was the queen of the lot from 32 to 36. I mean, she was, I always tell people, it's like she was the Betty Davis there before Betty Davis, you know?
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
yeah.
Now, another thing, would you like to talk to us kind of about your work at Warner Brothers, what you do? And
Yeah, I work in post-production, and I kind of bounce between a couple departments. One of them is Archival Mastering. That's who I've worked for the longest. And we basically now digitally archive all of the audio that comes out of Warner Brothers. We make usually 2 copies of everything, and then they're stored in separate vaults. That way, in case there would ever be like a vault fire or whatever, they always have a backup copy. But when I first started working for the archival mastering department, we were archiving to 2-inch tape, which was 24 tracks wide. And now we're going back to those and using those for sources for new archival. There's constant projects coming up where, you know, the big thing now is remixing for home theater. You know, especially if something like a classic comes out on Blu-ray, they may do a mix on it, you know, and clean it up a little bit. We've worked on some really fun projects, like when the Judy Garland Star Is Born came out, they took the original, I think they were 4-track stereo stems, and they remixed it on the stage into a 5/1. So, and that was for the Blu-ray release. But a lot of stuff we're doing now is just basically for streaming for HBO Max. We also, like I said, anything theatrically that comes out from Warner Brothers, we archive it. So it's that way it can be used for future stuff, or, you know, just held on to, you know, want to have an archival copy of everything. So we can do dialogue stems and effects stems and music, and combine composites and music and effects, you know, combined, all kinds of different audio that we archive. So we also we've done some audio transfer work for Warner Archive. If you go to my Facebook page, my cover photo is a close-up of my hand inspecting Guilty Hands with Kay Francis when we transferred the audio for that, for the Forbidden Hollywood set. So, you know, it's really fun for me. It's like a dream job because I get to work with these films that I love, and I haven't been on the lot since last March, but and I miss it. But you know, it's I'm lucky enough to still be able to work from home as well. So thank God for that. But I can't wait to get back, because it's crazy. You walk those streets, and it's just it's hard for me just to not think of like who else has walked these streets, you know. And then it's like you see, like I see movies with like Kay Francis movies, and it's like all of a sudden you get a glimpse like, oh my God, that's New York Street, and it's like I walk by that all the time, you know. It's just kind of a fun, you know, just to be a movie fan kind of thing. It's such a blessing, you know, like, oh my God, I get to work here, you know. So it's been really great. I've loved it, and the people there are really great. They've been really great to me, and I'm really thankful for that. So
that's wonderful. I'm always glad when I meet people that work in the modern industry that genuinely love movies. It kind of when I first moved to LA 21 years ago, I worked at HBO, I worked at Miramax, and it kind of shocked me the number of people that knew absolutely nothing about film before 1980. 1970, and some people almost didn't even seem to like it, and I just feel like, why are you here?
Right.
It always really kind of floored me that people could work in an industry and not have any kind of intellectual curiosity about the past, you know.
Right.
It really was strange.
It's crazy. I mean, we've seen lots of changes, but you know, I always tell everybody I'm staying at the party as long as I'm invited. So but yeah, it's been great. So I couldn't be more happy with that, but with my job, that's for sure. So, and it's like afforded me to go to the TCM festival, and you know, collect all these great things. So
What was the first thing that made you kind of fall in love with the movies? Like, what was your gateway drug, if you will?
I always remember going to the movies as a kid. But I have to say, I think my first movie memory, which this is kind of an odd thing, but I remember being fascinated at my grandmother's watching Viva Las Vegas on television and seeing Anne Margaret dance on top of that motor scooter. And I was just like, how is she doing that? Just like, I remember just being fascinated by that moment. And it's like, I think I just have been a movie fan ever since, you know? And it's like, Kay is not the first actress that I've, kind of been a huge fan of. I feel like Joan Crawford was my first collecting love. I have lots of posters of hers and different fun stuff, lobby cards and all that. And then, it's kind of like the whole advent of VHS kind of opened up the pre-code door. And then, but it also, I feel like the first thing that opened up my love of Norma Shearer was when The Women came out. And, that was just like, I felt like when that came out, and I wasn't really the internet, but I remember just not really finding out much information about Norma even. And then what I did find out, it didn't seem, I feel like they kind of whitewashed all the pre-code stuff. And it was like, oh, she was married to Thalberg, and she did all these roles that were, she was the mother figure, or just the great drama queen or whatever. And it didn't really resonate with me. But and then like some other books and things started coming out, and like I remember watching taping stuff from her when they were showing classics on TNT, like what I just had this thirst for, like, I want to see these movies. It's like, because they weren't readily available at that time, and then they finally started coming out. And then it's like when the pre-codes hit with her, it's like I feel like everybody has like this totally new appreciation for Norma Shearer now because of it.
I agree. I saw The Women and I saw Romeo and Juliet, but I really did not fall in love with Norma until I saw the silence in the pre-codes. And that's when I was like, okay, I really get it now. So
right.
Yeah, right. Those weren't as readily available for a while. You're right. And I think those could kind of revealed a whole new side of her talent and her career, and just really, made people appreciate her.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I actually have right here by my desk. This is an Argentine one sheet for The Women. That actually is a great story. One of my dear friends, Juanita, her and I used to go to poster shows together all the time, and we both were poor at that time as well. Well, I was poorer, but I didn't have that kind of money. And I remember this was available, and I didn't have the money for it. And she surprised me at Christmas and bought that for me as a Christmas gift. Because I remember I finally got the money together to buy it, and I had the guy's information. And when I contacted him, he was like, oh, sorry, I already sold it. I was like, oh, I'm so bummed. And then she surprised me at Christmas and had gotten it for me. So super sweet. So I've got some great friends out there. So
can he get any Joan and Norma posters? Would that be possible?
I do have, I'll actually have some stuff in here in my hallway. I'll show you. It's kind of my, my MGM pre-code kind of collection here. Welcome to my hallway. This is an original window. Look, I guess I can see better. That's an original window card from The Easiest Way with Constance Bennett. This I had restored as well. This was in horrible shape. Like the whole bottom of this was recreated by the guys at Poster Mountain. So that I love Constance Bennett too. That's another one. She's another like pre-code that she did so many great pre-codes, especially the ones with Joel McCrea. There are a couple of her and
anything with Joel McCrea is worthy for sure.
Right. And this is a divorcee lobby card. I'm sorry for the glare. I guess it's not much better.
That's there. Okay.
So, and then this is Riptide.
That's my favorite that you have. Yes.
Sorry about the reflection, but. And then Joan, I have to say, this is probably one of my favorite Joan pre-codes. This is Possessed.
Oh, me too. That is my favorite Joan pre-code, yes.
And then I love this Garbo film Inspiration. I feel like it doesn't get as much attention as some of her other ones, but I think it's a great pre-code. Her only starring with Robert Montgomery. So.
You know, there are several Garbo films that don't get a lot of attention. I was watching a while back Susan Lennox for Fall and Rise. And it had like 11 screenwriters, and the film is kind of a mess, but it's the only time she worked with Clark Gable. So to me, it was kind of worth seeing, you know, for that.
Oh, sure. So, let's see, what else can I?
Oh, show the door plates. Tell the story about the door plates in your hallway.
Oh, okay.
Oh, those are so great.
When I first moved out here from Ohio in 1982, right after high school, and my oldest sister has lived here for a long time, and she was gracious enough to let me live with her and kind of get my feet in the ground and all this stuff. And so her husband at the time had a brother who was the boom mic operator at the Merv Griffin show, which was on at this time it was filmed on a TAV, which was at Vine and kind of like Selma area. It's all apartment buildings or whatever now. And I used to go and hang out with him and go and watch, tapings of the Merv Griffin show and all this stuff. And he was kind of him and my sister's husband at the time were both engineering types, and they were constantly kind of working in the industry and doing different, kind of behind the scenes kind of technical stuff. And this guy, his brother, Craig, had the shop in North Hollywood, and I was over there visiting one time, and he had this box with all these signs in it. And I asked him, I'm like, oh, what are you going to do with these? And he's like, oh, you can just have these. So these are, I believe they're from circa Hush Hush Sweet Charlotte. They're either dressing room door nameplates or parking space nameplates. But I have on my bedroom, I have Betty Davis, and then Joseph Cotton on my linen closet, and Agnes Moorehead on my other coat closet, and then my Joan Crawford bathroom. So
I was so delighted by that when I visited your apartment the other day. I cannot tell you.
Yeah, they're really cool. I mean, and it was just like one of those things that kind of, I've had them for it's going on close to probably 35 years now. So yeah, so pretty exciting. So
why don't we take some questions from Facebook and see what questions?
Sure.
All right. Hopefully we won't have technical issues with this. Why haven't her diary entries been published? Someone was asking about that.
I think she just donated them to Wesleyan College. I mean, they're there for people if they want to research them. But I think, like I said, I think that a lot of it's in shorthand or whatever. Maybe that's just something I don't think. I mean, that's the thing that's crazy about her. Like, she's constantly was saying she couldn't wait to be forgotten. So, well, if you couldn't wait to be forgotten, I don't know if I would have left my diaries to a university.
Yeah, especially with what's in them in that book.
Yes, I mean, they're pretty racy. Some of the entries in it. So it's definitely a fascinating glimpse into her personal life. I mean, there are several well-publicized stories about her, kind of getting in her tips with the alcohol and having to be carried out of parties before and things like that. But, people like to party. So.
True. That's true.
This thing I wanted to show too. This is a Mandalay Herald. I love her little look here on the front. But the thing that's funny is it says, her beauty aflame in a world where there's only 9 commandments. What's
That is
the
the most
what
free-co
what do you
tagline
think
I
the
have
commitment
ever
is
heard.
that they left out? I guess kill, because she does kill him in this.
Danny Miller is saying, good Lord, Kenton can charge admission to his house. I agree with you, Danny. I felt like I should have left like 50 on his coffee table. This is true.
Thanks.
People are freaking out over the nameplates, as I did. That was like the first thing I was like, I know we're supposed to talk about Kay Francis, but
Right.
so I flipped out too.
Well, I'm glad to share them with everybody. They're kind of that was kind of the thing when I started renting this place. I was like, oh my God, this is the perfect spot for these door plates, and they've been there ever since. I've been in this apartment. It's going to be 30 years. So
that's awesome.
yeah, and like your little place, it's kind of a little time capsule. I think this place was built in the mid-40s. So
yeah, it's beautiful. Let's see. We are getting asked. Scott Ratner is asking, what role did she not play that you would love to have seen her in?
oh my God,
It's a good question.
that is. I mean, and I've never even seen this movie with Claudia Colbert, the Tovarich, I guess. I think I'm pronouncing it right. But yeah, well, you know what? It's funny. I was reading, they said that Warner Brothers, after a while, they stopped loaning her out after 1933. She did a lot of loan outs at Paramount, but supposedly she was offered the Mary Astor role in why can't I think of Dodsworth, and Warner Brothers wouldn't let her do it. So she would have been amazing at that. Although I love Mary Astor, and she's awesome in that as well.
You can't argue ever with Mary Astor.
Right. So and that's the thing. I feel like when you get deeper into that book, they talk about how she sued Warner Brothers because of that. But then, like I said, something happened, and she just gave up on the suit and just held them to the money or whatever. But
it makes you wonder,
I think that was part of it.
For.
I think that was part of it, was that she wasn't able to do these roles that she would have been great in. So
let's see another question. Benjamin in Germany. Hey Benjamin, he's asking, are there any interviews with Kay or footage of her doing an interview?
I think it's all would be like photo play kind of type magazine stuff. I don't think she never really, I think she maybe had made one or two television appearances, but it wasn't like a talk show kind of thing or anything like that. Not that I know of. I mean, I've never seen any of that. So
Danny Miller is asking, was there personal animosity between Jack Warner and Kay?
I think so. I mean, towards the end, I'm sure, like, she left. She was pretty embittered with the whole, studio when she finally left. But that was the thing too. Like, right after she left, the first movie she did, which I think totally boosted her confidence and realized that she had star power, was In Name Only. And she's awesome in that film. I mean, she's third billed, but it's like she's really good. That's, like I said, that's the first film I think I saw Kay Francis in. So
Benjamin wants to know, was she ever interested in telling her story, like any sort of autobiography or anything?
No, not at all. I mean, that I have to, let me see if I can find the quote. There's
I can't wait to be forgotten.
Yeah, that's like, that pretty much sums up, how she felt.
That's kind of an unusual attitude, because I think a lot of stars being remembered is kind of the thing they want more than anything, in certain ways. So it's kind of a counterintuitive in a lot of ways. But to me, even if she didn't want to be remembered on a personal level, I think you'd think anyway, they'd want to be remembered for their work.
Right. And so they even say that, there are stories later in the biography that people that were fans of hers that she came in contact with, and she did not want to discuss any of the movies, any of her career stuff at all. So
That
It's
makes
kind
me
of crazy.
sad. Like,
Yeah, I
that she
mean,
was kind
it
of
is sad.
bitter or- Kenton, do you think she was bitter or sad, or just maybe it was just a closed chapter?
Yeah, I feel like she was just bitter about it, you know, and she and you know, we talked about this too. Finally, she did bounce around and she did several more films. I mean, she was and she also did work for World War II, you know, and then the whole Four Jills in a Jeep, that's based on her, you know, going over there and entertaining all the boys and stuff. And she did several more movies, but then I feel like the last thing she did was she, which I find fascinating, is she signed a 3-picture deal with Monogram, and she produced all 3 of those films. And so, you know, it's kind of cool that she's like, oh, I'm going to get in on the production side of this as well. And 2 of those three films are really good. I love Allotment Wives and Wife Wanted. They're both excellent. So they're kind of noirish. One of them, I feel like Allotment Wives is kind of, I've heard it kind of compared to like a pre, or kind of around the same kind of era, like feel as Mildred Pierce, because it's kind of a mother-daughter story or whatever. So, but yeah, I mean, she just, you know, she still continued to act. She just acted on the stage, you know. She did all of her summer stock and all of that stuff. And I feel, you know, then she just basically retired. Supposedly she was offered the Constance Bennett role in Madam X. Ross Hunter had offered that to her because he supposedly, you know, he was totally into resurrecting these old movie queens, you know, and bringing them back to the stage. And that's how he got Constance Bennett to do that film too. And that's, you know, like that whole cycle of Ross Hunter films, you know, they're all remakes of, you know, films from the 30s, like Imitation of Life and Written on the Wind, or not Written on the Wind. What's the name? The one with Jane Wyman and Rock Hudson, both of those.
Magnificent Obsession.
Magnificent Obsession, you know, that's a, you know, total remake of those 30s women's pictures. So, but she turned it down as I think she was, you know, her health wasn't as great towards the end of her life. I think she ended up dying of cancer before it was all said and done. But she was a, you know, heavy smoker throughout her whole life, I feel. So it's just kind of a sad end. But, you know, even though she doesn't want to be remembered, I think it's the fans will never forget, you know, as long as there's home video and TCM, you know, her star will always shine. So
every single cemetery tour I give, I always say that, you know, I can show you the graves and I can tell you the stories, but ultimately the movies are what counts. And that's the artistry, that's their legacy, and that's how they live. So, you know, I always tell people, just, you want to get to know the star, you want to experience what they're like, just watch the movies, you know?
Right.
Because I think that is so important. And
certainly,
you know, I strongly encourage people to do that.
Yes, indeed. And a lot of them are available now. You know, a lot of them are out on DVD, and you know, they're always pretty much in regular rotation on TCM. So thank God.
One of the comfort things I've done during the pandemic when I felt really, really stressed, and I didn't even mean to do it, it just sort of inadvertently happened, is I would find myself sitting in front of my TV watching a Kay Francis movie and eating macaroni and cheese. So more than a few occasions.
It's a great stress reliever.
More than a couple of occasions this past year, that has been the big activity in my home. But
right.
Hey, if it brings me comfort and joy, why not? Right?
Yeah. Well, and this has just been a great thing too, Carrie. I mean, your Hollywood Kitchen is really fun, and I think it's a great way to, you know, get some word out there on some of these stars and cook at the same time. So why not, you know?
Exactly. And one of the fun things for me is, you know, I enjoy doing episodes on icons like, say, Cary Grant or Katharine Hepburn, but I really enjoy doing episodes on more obscure stars, lesser known stars, even stars I knew zilch about going in, like, say, Gertrude Berg, and I learned so much from Danny Muller.
Well, that's awesome.
It's fun to kind of kind of be diverse and kind of go back and forth between all sorts of different kinds of artists and entertainers.
Sure.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Let's see if we have any more questions rolling in. For some reason, when I click on my iPhone, the questions don't pop up. And then whenever I log off and I'm done with the episode, then all of a sudden all the questions show up. So sorry about that.
Well, you can always hit me up later if somebody has questions, or I can look on the feed as well too.
Yeah. If you want to look on the feed, I'm sure people would be thrilled to interact with you. And I'm really hoping Kenton and I can do more episodes in the future, because Kenton, what you guys have seen today is like tip of the iceberg stuff.
Thanks so much. Yeah. And, like you said, I love to cook. So I'm constantly, if anybody's following me on Facebook, or I'm on Instagram as well as Master Bymaster, and you can follow me there as well. I post a lot of my cooking stuff and some movie stuff as well. But so that'd be awesome.
Where's Kay's final resting place? Benjamin in Germany.
She was cremated, and I think the ashes were given to a friend. There's no marker or anything anywhere.
Oh, that kills me.
I know.
I wish I had a place I could leave flowers.
Right. Well, maybe we could get a cenotaph going up in Hollywood Forever or something. Let's do a Kay Francis marker drive or something.
Oh my gosh. I don't know that she would want it though.
Right. Well, that's the thing. I mean,
yeah, I have some friends in the grave hunting kind of community in Los Angeles, and they've gotten markers for different stars, either memorial markers or they've actually gotten their remains out of various situations and gotten them marked at Hollywood Forever or other cemeteries for that matter. But it's a really complicated process, because you've got to get family members and legal issues, and there's all sorts. It's not as simple as like sometimes people ask me about, and I say, well, it's a whole process. My friend Jessica Wall, who runs Silence is Platinum on Instagram, she's marked a ton of them, and she could probably teach a learning annex course in like the obstacles, one has to go through to do that. But I almost get the sense that Kay wouldn't want that. I know that sounds crazy, but I almost think.
No, I agree. I mean, it's crazy that she said that quote, like she couldn't wait to be forgotten, but I'm sorry, honey, you're going to be remembered forever. thanks to your legacy of films and all of that. So.
Well, some of the comments here, and I do have to agree with some of this, they tend to say things like, I think a lot of the actors saw it just as a job.
Right. Sure.
And I also think that, I don't think a lot of them had the foresight. Like, they didn't know the stuff would maybe show up on TV or VHS or DVD. They didn't have, I think Chaplin probably knew that, yes, 100 years from now, people will watch my movies. But I don't think most of them thought that way. They just thought in the moment, and I don't think they ever had any kind of foresight about how they would be looked at in the future in terms of their body of work or their legacy or their place in history. I don't think that was a thought for most people.
Right. Well, I feel like, a lot of those movies, they figure, once it's in the can, it's, once it's had its initial run, you're not going to see it again. Nobody had the foresight, to think of that. Supposedly, I'm not sure the exact what company it was, but at one point Warner sold all of the rights to all of those films for like $1 million. This was in the 60s, and like that's a gold mine that he basically just gave away, when you think of the real actual worth of that kind of, all those assets. So it's kind of crazy. Nobody had the foresight, like you said.
Some people don't realize what a fan base these things have too. Like, sometimes people will say to me, oh, I don't think young people love old Hollywood. I say, go on down to the TCM festival, because I'm in my 40s. I feel like the old lady on the block. I mean, there's a lot of 20 and 30 something people that save their money year round to come to that festival, and they eat, sleep, drink, and breathe classic cinema. So it may not be as mainstream as Marvel or something, but believe me, there is a rabid, diehard fan base for this stuff. And I think a lot of studios, I don't know that they fully know that,
Right. Crazy.
It is crazy.
Yeah, I know. I love the TCM Fest. It's just like, that was kind of like I miss it so much that we haven't been able to go the past 2 years. But that was kind of like a little like mini vacation. It's like I would take the weekend off or take a couple days off from work as well, and just hit the ground running. And just like, I think the most movies I saw in one day was 6, which was just like, you never realize how exhausting watching movie after movie can be, but it's just so much fun. It's just
I joke that it's like having jet lag, except you haven't left the Chinese 6.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I'm really grateful to the people at TCM for the virtual festival, because I know they're doing the best they can in this crazy situation we've all been in. But I agree, that festival to me is like Christmas morning when I was a little kid. It's just so
Right.
exciting. And for me, the thing I've missed the most in this last year is seeing movies with friends and either all laughing or screaming or crying or sharing this shared experience. You can't get that at home. You can't get that energy, get that electricity. And when I see films on a huge screen, I notice so many things that I never noticed when I watched it on a laptop or TV.
Oh yeah, you can't beat the big screen. I mean, no matter how big your television monitor is, it's nothing like sitting in a theater and seeing that larger than life image. It's just, that's what going to the movies is all about.
It is. And the good news is that as of June 15th, apparently we don't have to wear masks in Los Angeles, knock on wood. And also the American Cinematheque is reopening at the Arrow. They're reopening at the Los Feliz 3. The New Beverly's coming back. So stuff is slowly coming back. And it's a glorious and beautiful thing to see that.
Indeed. So glad, finally.
Well, Kenton, this was a wonderful episode. Thank you for putting up with all of the technical problems.
No worries. Mercury is retrograde right now, so things if something can go wrong, it's gonna probably go wrong. So, but we soldiered on, Carrie. We did it. So
we did it.
Thank you so much for having me on. It was really fun, and thanks to everybody for watching. And it was fun sharing some of my stuff, and look forward to doing it again sometime soon.
Yes, I look forward to it too, because I've got more recipes, more ideas that you and I can do together, and I really look forward to it.
Awesome. Well, everybody have a great Sunday. Thanks again.
Thank you so much. And
no worries.
Yes, and let us know if you decide to make your own version of the coffee souffle.
Yes. And I'll send you a picture as soon as I'm done. So.
Oh, that would be great.
All right. Awesome.
All right.
All right. Have a great day, Carrie. We'll talk soon. Okay.
You too. Okay.
Thanks.
Bye.